All right, here we go, everybody. Yes. Quite the morning in Warwick. Gian says the audio is strong. Strong, it's kind of... Let me do this. Hello, one and all. We're going to start with politics this week in un momento. What's the address? 52 Blake. Okay. Yes. All right, we certainly have more details on the Warwick situation. Okay, we're going to begin in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to put up the latest. 33-year-old Tyler Bagley. Toy boat. Oh, hold on. Can look better. Let's look at how quickly we turn things around. Now we can post. Okay. Warwick update. Okay, we're going to start in just 1 minute. Un momento. Yes. There's Cheryl. There's Jane Rice. Wait a minute. It's Lady Jane. She's just a joy. That one. All right, folks, we're going to be joined by Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. She's just a joy. Momentarily. Sounds like someone. And we're going to be starting in just one moment. 1 moment on what a beautiful Monday. Patriots won. We are just rolling. And we are going to begin right now at 1:06. Yes, 106 on this Patriot Monday, and it is a Patriot Monday. Wow, what a win last night. On the road against the undefeated Bills in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. Wow, that was big time. Let me get to that in just a moment, actually. And Rhode Island. Folks, right now, we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. But wait, there's more. We're also live on our Facebook page. You're live? Yes, we are live on Facebook. As we're about to hit 105,000 followers. I love these people. He's losing people. The show, the page has never been stronger and gaining strength by the week. He's losing people. We're not losing anyone. Although we are shedding some of the, as Al Rushpo used to call them, the low information voter. We're definitely shedding some of the lower IQ crowd. It is good afternoon. Yes. Yes, good afternoon. It is an afternoon. This portion of the program, we're going to be joined by Justin Katz in just a moment. This portion of the program, folks, is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. I was there yesterday. It just looks fantastic. They do such a great job. They're waiting to meet Jane Rice. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. This is where Nancy McCormick goes. Folks, stop in and see them. Support them. Family-run business. They're fantastic. They're homegrown mums and kale are just, I can remove that, are just outstanding. Folks, stop in and see them at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They have pumpkins, straw, corn stalks, gourds, Indian corn. It was a busy morning already with the police standoff. I'm going to get to those details momentarily, and then we're going to have our segment, Politics This Week. So, but stop in and see them. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Pumpkin, straw bales, corn stalks, gourds, Indian corn. Their mums and kale are just fantastic. Beautiful colors. This is the ideal time for planting. Stop in and see them at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. No, it is afternoon. And on top of that, now, I also want to mention, let me go to right here. And I'm going to I'll give the update on Warwick before we talk to Justin, which we're going to do momentarily. But folks, I want to remind you, check out depetro.com. We will have the video. Now, we have the video up on TikTok and on Facebook, and we have it up on YouTube. But I will also post it on our webpage, which is depetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Now, before we bring on Justin, just a quick update. So this morning, again, if you haven't seen the video, we have it up on YouTube. We have it up on, obviously, we were live on Facebook and TikTok. But there's two things I want to mention, actually. I'm seeing, well, let me just talk about the Warwick situation for just a moment. So we did receive this Warwick police. They get a call last night. Here it is, the update. Okay. Warwick Police, 52 Blake Street, report of an intoxicated male acting belligerent with a firearm. The male identified 33-year-old Tyler Bagley, involved in a disturbance. Other occupants of the residence reported police he had pointed a firearm at a female. Officers were able to safely evacuate two females and a male from the residence. SWAT responded. They determined he had barricaded himself, Tyler Bagley, into an attic area of the residence. Extensive negotiations were conducted. Multiple methods used to determine his status. Warwick SWAT eventually went into the residence, at which time Bagley was located in the house, taken into custody without incident, and he did have the firearm with him. So he will face domestic felony assault, possession of a firearm by a person convicted of a crime of violence, and 2 counts of domestic disorderly conduct, held for arraignment. Should be noted, no parties were injured during the incident. So now they also, let me just go to, before we talk to Justin, the initial press release. Hold on. The initial press release, this is the one I want, had that her adult brother. Remember the guy behind me there kept talking about the brother, schizophrenic. The male is known to the police and a person prohibited from possessing a firearm. Thank you, Governor McGreed. SWAT personnel went in. They took him into custody. He did have the firearm in his possession when he was taken in. So great job by the Warwick police. And let me just quickly mention this before we bring on Justin Katz. I saw that FBI Boston, our law enforcement partners across Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island, took part in Operation Summer Heat, a nationwide effort to crush violent crime in our communities, and they announced 404 results, 129 drug seizures, 38 weapons removed from the street. So great job by FBI. All right, folks, let's bring him on. Again, our segment is Politics This Week, and joining us, he is Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. Justin, I'd like to start off, get your thoughts. When we spoke last week, we talked about Representative Bob Craven, who had announced he was seeking the office of Attorney General, longtime rep, North Kingstown, also head of judiciary. And as we kind of talked about, Justin, that campaign didn't even make it till Friday.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange, surprising thing. I mean, he has 20 years ago or so a domestic assault record from a time when I guess he was a heavy drinker, according to his own testimony. It's surprising that would surprise him and not come up in his expectations for what to happen, could come out when he ran. He had no real reply. He just kind of faded away, and it was just a very strange thing. It's interesting though to contrast with what's going on in Virginia with another Attorney General Democrat candidate, Jay Jones, who a couple of years ago sent tweets out, or not tweets, text messages talking about wanting to shoot one of the Republicans and watch his children die in front of their mother. That came out, and that guy, nobody's even calling for him to step down on the Democrat side. Craven 20 years ago made some mistakes, but it does go to show it. You wonder where these people are getting their political advice. It's almost like there's a carelessness in Rhode Island where you just run for office and nobody really vets you until you're already running for it. But this should have been something Craven was planning for, had a story about, was laying seeds about, but somehow it tripped him up.
How do you think the local press covered it? Dan McGowan put out a column, pretty aggressive, right out of the box, saying that he should not be Attorney General. Channel 12 jumped on it, and then that's when the digging started. But how do you think he was? What should we take away from Craven? To me, Justin, he was basically taken down by Channel 12 and the Boston Globe.
Yeah, well, in some ways, and what I saw I didn't follow every detail of the story's progress, but from what I saw, a lot of the ire I was seeing from the journalists was more that Craven lied to a journalist. Less the charges themselves or what it said about his character. It was like, Dan McGowan asked you about this and you lied to him as if he was under oath or something. That seemed to be the heavier charge against him, which goes to show, we watch again and again as Democrats are allowed to paper over things. Nothing's a controversy for them. Republican Representative Brian Newberry is trying to get the local media to ask local Democrats about this Jones situation in Virginia. Nobody's fighting. They get a pass for so much. And that's why it's so strange that Craven didn't think, let me get ahead of this. Be perfectly honest. I'll give Dan McGowan his scoop. They can go talk about it for a few days and then it'll go away and I can continue my candidacy. But he didn't do that. And so they did go after him and now he's out of the race.
Now, speaking of races and out of the race, I'd like to get your reaction to Attorney General Peter Nerona has announced that he will not be running for governor.
Yeah, he stepped aside. It's interesting. He's been tweeting a lot less in the last 6 months or so. There were times he was just almost out of control on Twitter and going after citizens and saying things that were just outrageous. And so I wonder if he said, you know what, I'm done. I tried out the political thing and it's not working. But I think also telling is his heir apparent, this Keith Hoffman, who's running from and has Norona's endorsement, saying, putting front and center as the job of Attorney General to go after and defend the state from Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. And I do wonder, I mean, when he started, you and I agreed, I think, that Norona was a guy with character, a good record. He's been very disappointing in my book across multiple fronts, but I wonder if he's gotten a taste of what the political life is like and decided he tried playing the game a bit and decided he didn't like it. So he's got his underling Hoffman there. But one thing about his announcement, which was really interesting, is he sort of, the word that comes to mind is confess. That's not quite it, but he confessed that under Norona, he was actually tasked as a state employee to prepare for another Donald Trump, how to oppose another Donald Trump presidency. And it sounds like he worked with other attorney general offices across the country. I have some questions out to candidate Hoffman about that myself, but that seems like pretty big news. I'm surprised I haven't seen any additional news media coming up with that, but that apparently is what the attorney general offices are supposed to do in Democrat states is oppose a Republican president, not necessarily law and order, although Hoffman says that's still very important, but not really a priority, I guess.
Justin, this is a headline from the Providence Journal. Alviti, meaning Peter Alviti, the head of DOT, Rhode Island DOT, tears into, quote, lies about who's to blame for the Washington Bridge failure and withheld the report. What do you make of, I think it's a strategy of both DOT Director Peter Alviti, but more specifically Governor McKee, where they're almost trying to go on the offensive. Like Governor McKee, yeah, we want oversight hearings. And Director Alviti essentially tearing into those that have asked questions or raised questions about the bridge.
Well, it's almost protesting too much, right? I mean, it still looks to me like they engaged in lawsuits and said, good, now we don't have to release this report. I mean, a lot of the claims about releasing the report as part of because of the lawsuit is ridiculous. Your defendants are going to get copies of this report through discovery. It's just you're keeping the public in the dark. But that's part of the bluster and the strategy. Just go on the offensive. And it probably, frankly, works with a lot of the journalists around here because they're sympathetic to the governor and Alviti and the unions and the Democrat Party, just to bluster. And I want to set the truth about these lies. And McKee saying, and we want oversight. Of course, he doesn't want oversight for what happened to the bridge. He wants oversight for the demolition phase that we've just done, which is not the same thing at all. But what's curious about Alviti's, it almost made me chuckle a bit. He's saying, rebuilding infrastructure is a tough business, as if he's bringing in mobsters or fighting against, say, I don't know, illegal immigrants or something, as if it's going to get messy when you try to fix a bridge. I mean, what world are these people living in, and who do they think is buying this? If we're having so much trouble with our contractors, that's on the state too, and we need to get ahead of that. So every bridge we repair is not a blood and guts battle where you have to get mean and tough like some old cop in a Western or something like that. It's just so much bluster. It's astonishing, and it's astonishing that news media kind of lets them get away with it and not follow up relentlessly until there's somebody held accountable, or at least some, hey, tell us these stories about the blood and guts, and did you lose a tooth fighting with a contractor? What's going on here? We need these stories for the public, but they'll just go on with their bluster because it's just a show. They know they're at fault, and they know there's nothing to say about how badly they performed in office.
Yeah, it is an attitude of, hey, you want an omelet, you got to break some eggs, and like that. I don't think that's the way business should be conducted. Justin, Providence Journal, this story didn't get as much attention I think it should have, but Judge Richard Leach, now unbelievable political insider, Ed Acorn, he had that famous column back when he was still writing with Providence Journal, the adult prom, that Chafee named him a judge. They had the ceremony outside in the back of the State House, almost like to thumb their nose at the Providence Journal. But he wins $1.2 million for the state for an accident outside the State House. I remember when this happened. There's a crosswalk. He wasn't in the crosswalk. He was at the State House. I think he had testified on something. But anyhow, as he's leaving, he just goes across Smith Street, outside of the crosswalk, gets hit, obviously gets hit badly, very badly, actually. And then what do you make of not only did the state give him 1.2 million, but I think Rhode Island College gave him 500,000.
Yeah, well, it looked like it was mostly, say roughly half of the 1.2 was insurance, and the other half was from Rhode Island College. That it does. I mean, I hope he recovers fully, and I hope he's okay, and it's a terrible accident. But it does make you wonder, why is Rhode Island College, and by implication, Rhode Island taxpayers, why are they liable? The driver was driving his own car. He happened to work for Rhode Island College. There were no charges or anything, violations charged against the driver. It was literally jaywalking and got hit by a car. It's horrible. I mean, I jaywalk all the time.
But that's what happened.
But yeah, I mean, you take these risks. These happen. The insurance is there to cover it, et cetera. But I don't know why the college as well. It's almost like the state government is just the big pockets you always hear of that lead people to go after these, slip and fall lawsuits and personal injury lawyers. That's what it feels like. But he got 1.2 million, which is a pretty bit of money. And I don't have any contrary cases to put up against that, but I do hope that anybody else in the same situation would get the same amount, and it wasn't just this filter of everybody saying, "Oh, poor Richard, our friend, got hurt. Let's give him some extra money." But it is a curious situation, and it'd be nice to hear a little bit more about the legal reasoning of the settlement.
Yeah, I don't know why the state ended up giving the money. It's insurance is one thing, and actually, I think you and I both know if that was just anyone else, if who knows, if a Second Amendment protester or person went up to testify in hearings and they jaywalked and then they got hit, they're on their own. That's then between the driver and also their insurance company. I don't think the state of Rhode Island would be paying that out. And Justin, just one other story, Governor McKee put out, and to me, this is political that he puts this type of stuff out, but he tweeted out, "There is no insurrection in Portland. There's no foreign invasion that would justify deploying National Guard troops. This is a blatant abuse of power by the Trump administration, a disturbing pattern." To me, that is just him trying to play to the Democrat base of progressives. It has nothing to do with his job as governor.
Yeah, no, absolutely nothing. I mean, what I would want to ask him is, did you go there? Did you do a fact-finding mission to make sure that there's no insurrection? How do you know? You know nothing more than anybody else in Rhode Island does. It makes me wonder, a lot of these politicians, they have staffers and so on posting to their social media, and it's understandable. You don't really want Dan McKee wasting his time as governor sitting on his phone tweeting. But it does make you wonder, like, does Patrick Crowley have direct posting access to McKee's account?
Yeah.
Who among the progressives gets to go on there? Or is it just kind of a feed from the national Democrats that said, we need all the Democrat governors to rally behind this and start with help with our insurrection? That's basically what he's doing. I don't know why, given everything happening in the state, our governor thinks this is even worth a response. And again, it goes back to what we've been saying recently about how Dan McKee wanted one-on-one meeting with Donald Trump. It would take so little just to tone it down a little bit, and not be so aggressively in opposition to the Republican administration. He can't do that because he has tied his lot with the most radical of the radical through the labor unions in Rhode Island. And this is what we get. And frankly, it's why his poll numbers are way down. It's why people don't trust him. They don't like him. They don't think he's doing anything for the state. He's setting this up, but he's got labor unions. He's probably got the mail ballot fraud behind him as well. So, who knows?
Folks, it's time for Katz's Corner. This is a story that Justin Katz has found that he finds interesting. What do you have for us this week, Justin?
Well, I wrote about this over the weekend, and I think it deserves a lot more attention. Massachusetts, for decades, has crowed about their being number one in education. I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and it was just the example of the best education in America, best in the world, maybe. I never thought they would let that go, but apparently a couple of years ago, they through a ballot initiative backed by the teachers unions, they got rid of the requirement for standardized testings for graduation. And this is why this is relevant to Rhode Island, because we see these headlines. Rhode Island closes the gap in standardized tests with Massachusetts. Massachusetts is falling pretty dramatically.
Right.
That's how we're closing the gap, is they're getting just as bad as we are. That's not the way to go forward. And it's shocking to me the people of Massachusetts let this happen. And it does bring back the conversations we've had about mail ballot fraud and all of that. I mean, maybe it's not even possible for real voters to control their government anymore. But it shows you it's like clear as day. I said in 2006, Deval Patrick was elected to Massachusetts governor with the help of the teachers unions, and started monkeying around with their educational structure, how they force accountability. The scores then stagnated. Now they've taken away MCAS as a requirement. Scores are dropping. It's like cause and effect. And I wish our journalists would start letting their readers know about this before another 10 generations of Rhode Island and Massachusetts children just suffer with poor education.
Folks, read all about that and a lot more on anchorrising.com. He is Justin Katz. Justin, excellent job as always, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, John. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, folks, there it is, our segment, Politics This Week, right here on the John DePietro Show. Now, I am going to talk about, there's a hearing tonight in Providence about ICE. For those that are tuning in and wondering for an update, there was a 33-year-old apparently intoxicated male in Warwick, not supposed to have a firearm, pointed a firearm at a female in the residence, then barricaded himself in the attic. Warwick Police SWAT had to go in. When they did apprehend him, he did have the firearm. So he's Tyler Bagley. He will face charges. Now, I do want to talk about this situation with the ICE hearing in Providence. Folks, this portion of the program, though, brought to you by Propane Plus. Hey, with this good weather, I mean, we're a long way off. I still, at least not this week, as far as turning the heat on. Propane Plus. Log on to their website, propaneplus.com, residential or commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. You just log on, look at I'm looking for residential, commercial, heating or cooling. Remember, in Rhode Island, you can call Propane Plus at 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Now, tonight, there is a hearing in Providence. You know what else? Before I get to that, I want to also just mention. Now, notice I posted this on our Facebook page, and that is that Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey, she issued a statement saying, well, we're not a sanctuary state. And folks, as I have mentioned, here's what you need to know. If you're in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, or Connecticut for that matter, but let's just focus on Rhode Island and Mass. You have two governors side by side, and they always just keep insisting that they're not a sanctuary state. But what our local media seemingly fails to ask them about is that they have sanctuary policies. So Governor McKee, he continues to say that, oh no, we're not a sanctuary state. No. But as ICE has said, as the Department of Justice has said, and both notice, Maura Healey, Governor McKee, they both use this talking point where they say, oh no, we're not a sanctuary state. But you have the city of Boston that clearly is, and the ICE presence. But make no mistake about it, Rhode Island is. In my mind, what both of those governors have in common is they have a local press, both the Boston media and also the Rhode Island media, that many of you may not realize it, but I believe that a lot of the local press and media, they support the position of Governor Healey, and they support the position of Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee. Therefore, they really don't want to push them on it because they actually don't have a problem with it. The fact that McKee operates a sanctuary state, when asked, he'll say, no, we're not. But the Department of Justice, ICE, Homeland Security, they all say Rhode Island is following sanctuary policies. As I have stated, Rhode Island gave out driving privileges. And then tonight, there's a meeting taking place in Providence that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But folks, I want to remind you about Kids Club on the Pike. Kids Club on the Pike. If you're looking for a daycare, maybe it is for your child, or maybe it's for your grandchild. Kids Club on the Pike. They do a fantastic job. They're easy to get to. Kids Club on the Pike. They're right off of 295 on Plainfield Pike. So several elements to Kids Club on the Pike. And what do I mean by that? Well, number one, they're perfect for a teen party. Maybe you have a child or a grandchild that's part of fall ball or fall soccer, which is huge this time of year, or football or cheerleading, what have you. Kids Club on the Pike would be the perfect spot to host your banquet. But on top of that, they have before and after school care, provide transportation before and after care for school-age children, ages 5 through 12. They also preschool, half and full day program for preschool children, 3 through 5. Easy to get to, right off of 295 on Plainfield Pike. It's right on the Cranston-Johnson line. Kids Club on the Pike, 401-443-5336. So tonight, and I posted this, and just a spoiler alert, I'm not going to this. I don't know if some people are going to say, "Are you going to go?" No, I'm not going. I can't stand being around this crowd. I can't. So I'll look to see if it's streamed somewhere. But tonight, call for testimony. ICE out of Providence. Providence City Hall, 3rd floor at 5:30. In response to our community's organizing against police and court collaboration with ICE, City Council's trying to update the Community Safe Act with stronger protections to keep ICE out of courts and stop police from working with ICE. Pack the chamber, testify in support, and demand ICE out of Providence. So that is tonight. So I'll find. Let me just see if it's going to be streamed. But notice you don't hear anyone condemning that. You don't hear, and here's the thing, folks. There's several parts of this that I want to just point out to you. Now, number one, you don't hear anyone, and what I mean by that is there's no elected official that seemingly speaks out about it. There's no elected official who even says, "Hey, that's wrong." So I am unaware that anyone is going to go and speak about it. But the general feeling, hey, there's one of the leaders of it. He's an elected representative, Democrat, calls for more ICE violence. They're Nazi thugs. Their day of reckoning is coming. There's no going back. Not one elected official that I have seen is speaking out, saying that's shameful Providence is doing it. Let's be very clear who's certainly not speaking out about it. Governor McKee's not speaking out about it. Mayor Smiley's not speaking out about it. I'll explain it again. So I thought I explained it. Apparently not. So there's another ICE protest? No, you're missing the point. Inside City Hall, 3rd floor, 5:30, they're going to have testimony with the City Council. This is with the City Council, where they're going to pack the chamber and have some kind of a hearing, ICE out of Providence. So just to be clear, and I'm not trying to, if Brian's asking a question, maybe other people have that. No, this is not a protest. This is inside the chamber. They're going to try to have the City Council passing more resolutions, maybe even try to enact law that would prevent it. So what kind of City Council? Well, the Providence City Council clearly is on board with a lot of this stuff, but it goes beyond that. I'll tell you a couple things I don't hear. I don't hear anyone condemning it. That's number one. What else I don't hear is, why do we have to give so much state money to Providence? Someone mentioned to me, the Providence City Council is so woke. They are. Then let them just run themselves. Why do we have to give them so much state money? They get a lot of state aid. So you may not realize that, but from Westerly to Woonsocket, the city of Providence receives, just their schools alone, they receive over $300 million. And what's that? That's to educate a lot of the illegals that are in their school system. So now I believe there is an opening for someone who would speak out more. Some elected official, Mayor Hopkins, he may say, hey, that's not my city. Mayor Hopkins, I give him credit. He speaks out. Mayor Hopkins definitely speaks out about Cranston. When the Cranston police took down those 3 South American gang members, Mayor Hopkins, the reason they were able to do that is the police know he has their back. Not every police feels that. Not every police feels that. I don't think they do. You know what else I want to mention, folks, is, and it's a little bit of, not a problem, Brian, but I don't want any type of confusion out there. No, this is, as much as we can dismiss, and I hear people say it all the time, oh, Providence is over. Oh, Providence is gone. Oh, you can't go to Providence anymore. Believe me, I hear that literally every single day and night. But what I don't hear is anyone saying, hey, how come we have to give so much tax money to them? Because I don't think we should. I mean, I would like a movement. It would have to take someone elected, some elected official at the State House to start to say, no, my taxpayers don't want to fund their schools and pay for all these programs, that they're able to do that in that way. I don't hear anything about that. So I also want to mention, for those of you that follow, if you haven't seen it, and I think right now we're still the only ones that have the police body cam of them, Cranston police getting the 3 South American gang members that were arrested, casing houses in Cranston, taking pictures. Someone gets the license plate. Boy, that seems suspicious. They have hoods on, going in and out of bushes, literally casing houses that they were going to rob. When they get them, again, this is all the police report, the mug shots, the police body cam video. It's all on the website, depetro.com. Actually, I should change that. It's all on the website, depetro.com. But what I notice is, they had zip ties, they had hammers, they had screwdrivers, they had a police radio, even though they were pretending they didn't speak English. They had change of clothes, they had masks, they had burglary tools, flashlights prepared to go on a spree of robbing as many houses in Cranston and then harming anyone that they could. But what I notice is, and it is frustrating, Mayor Hopkins he does a great job. But what I notice is, folks, so I found why I was able to obtain video of one of the neighbors that saw a strange car. Cranston residents were tremendous, and everyone has to do this on See Something, Say Something. A Cranston resident looked out and said, boy, that seems suspicious. That car doesn't belong here. Tinted windows, a BMW with Virginia plates, and cruising around, and then some guy with a hood on gets in and out of the car. So this person, they filmed the license plate, they got the information of the police used their flock camera, and boom, they get the arrest. Now, we posted the video, not only of the arrest, and that was at gunpoint, Cranston police. Put your hands up, get on the ground, but of the neighbor that saw it, and that neighbor deserves credit for doing that. But you can see the people. How do you know they're South American gang members? Oh, how can you tell by this? Folks, it is frustrating, I admit, the people who don't follow the news. And I try to explain right now, for those of you that are on Facebook or watching on X or watching on YouTube, this content, it's not for everybody. It's for people that follow the news. I believe it's akin to trying to watch a football game with someone that doesn't know the rules of football. Well, why can't he throw it again? Well, why is it their ball? Like, I can't even imagine. I can't watch a game with someone who's rooting for the other team, let alone someone of like, no, what does that mean? Well, why can't he just do that? I can't imagine. So you have people that don't follow the news. Our pages of social media were filled. DePietro.com has the body cam of the police, has the police report, has the mugshots. Well, how do you know they're from South America? Oh, this is a fake video. Oh, how do you know that? Oh, and then you get the people that they're passive aggressive. Well, maybe you should post the pictures of Americans committing crimes. We do that already. This was a unique story. This is a unique story that two of the guys had been deported from the United States. What they do? They stuck back in. They're here for criminal purposes. A South American gang here to steal from Americans. That they were in Cranston. Two of them based in New Jersey, one in New York. They go up and down the Northeast. Why do they come to Rhode Island? They even said, because it's a sanctuary state. But you have their defenders. It's so maddening and frustrating. And I'm trying to watch my language of the people. How do you know they're South American? Why don't you read? It's on the page. Leave the page. How many times do I say that? Scram. Beat it. We don't need it. We don't need you. Go away. Listen, this isn't Channel 10 or Channel 12. We do news in real time. That's when we report things as it's happening. I need to know what's going on here. No, you want to know what's going on here. The page, the content that we put out, when you have, I want you to think of it this way. For anyone that really follows football, if you follow like Adam Schefter, who's a football insider, he's not going through Adam Schefter, NFL insider. It's not for people that don't know the rules of football. Well, who's this coach of the Patriots? He's not for that. The content we put out, and if you're watching right now, I would think you're one of the people, is for people that you follow the news. So then you're looking for development in the story and new developments in the story. But it's not for everybody. And as I'd like to say, listen, we're not playing nursemaid here. Some people, well, I needed to explain to me what happened. Well, then you're in the wrong place. We're not playing nursemaid. Okay? This isn't the classroom when you're asking for an aid. You're in the wrong place. Leave the page. I'm not in any way offended. The less low IQ individuals that we have to deal with, the better. Well, I'm not following you anymore. What's the bad news? Scram. Beat it, hagbag. Good. Please leave. Oh, well, you're not telling me what happened. It's already on the page. If you can't read it, it's really not my problem, is it, Harry? Listen, go watch Channel 12. They'll do a nice minute 20 package and tell you. That's not what we're here for. Well, I need to know what's happening. Not from this page and on. That's right. Thank you, Ron. Why are they importing crime? You know, no one is mentioning the fact of one of the reasons, if not the reason they came, is because of Rhode Island sanctuary state. No. Listen, spoiler alert, as I like to say, listen, we know the local media, they're basically working in conjunction with the Democrat Party. They just are. I mean, we don't have to hide it. Listen, it doesn't mean they're not tough on some Democrats. Ask Bob Craven how that went. It doesn't mean that they're not tough on McGreed or Matos. But by and large, you know, our local media treats, if you have an R in front of your voting status, they regard anyone that voted for, again, in their mind, and by the way, Boston media is worse, but they basically regard anyone that voted for President Trump as if they have some kind of a mental disorder. That's how they view it. That's just a fact. They don't care that Fox News is number one. They don't care that President Trump is absolutely just crushing it and getting so much done and delivering exactly what he promised. They don't care about that. They don't get that. they secretly are with AOC, Schumer, Sheldon Whitehouse, Gabe Amo, Magazina, Healy, and McKee. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Now listen, call Corey today. Excuse me, 401 283 9815. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401 283 9815. It's really simple. The season is now. It doesn't last that much longer. Have them epoxy your garage or patio. Did I mention it's a free estimate? 401 283 9815. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. They could epoxy your garage and patio. They do decorative concrete flooring. Call Corey for that free estimate, 401 283 9815. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. Just to recap, I believe unless something has drastically changed, that the government is still closed. I view it as that people just get so frustrated with government. That's what I think. That people just get completely, I think it's bad all the way around. And which party do I blame? Which party do you think? I mean, we know whether they want to admit it or not. It's actually pretty simple. And I think that our local press allows a lot of our local officials to just go along with the notion that, oh, it's not about illegals getting health care. You know, I don't hear anyone thread the needle on the following. You have to look at what is the incentive for people to move somewhere. And in certain communities, without question, what it is it could be the school system. It could be, quality of life. It could be a variety of things like that. But as far as you can't deny that when someone comes into the country and they're allowed free health care, how many people that are listening or watching, that the whole reason, a big part of employment is you need your benefits. There are so many people that want a state job or a town job or a city job, and it's because of the benefits. It's been long known that state workers, they have what the Cadillac Blue Cross package, and then you get people that get free health care for life. I mean, it's insanity. But no one can tell me that that's not an incentive for people. A lot of times the reason people take a job is because they have good health benefits. They may say, the job's not great, but we get great benefits, so I stay and blah, blah, blah. So when you're talking about illegals, stop the nonsense that by Rhode Island offering driver's licenses, driving privileges, they walk into Rhode Island Hospital. They walk into Landmark in Woonsocket. They walk into Kent Hospital. They walk into Newport Hospital. And there's 5 of them. And they don't speak English. And they don't have, they don't have any health coverage. They're treated, they're admitted, they deliver their baby. It's really simple. Who do you think pays for that? Look in the mirror, because that's who's paying for it. And so as much as Seth Magaziner and Gabe Amo, and it's not about that and blah, blah, blah. We know someone's paying for it. I'm not saying that's entirely the cost. But would they come here and would they settle in Rhode Island or Massachusetts if you didn't have so many attractive benefits? By Governor McKee waving the flag saying, come here, we're a sanctuary state, we'll take care of you. I mean, that is an incentive. I've just noticed that I don't even hear anyone mention the driving privileges as much anymore. Folks, remember, when disaster strikes, Servpro or Providence, fast, thorough, professional. If you have a fire, You're going to have smoke damage. You're going to have water damage. Maybe a pipe breaks. ServPro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. All right, suddenly it's midnight and a pipe bursts and you have water and suddenly you have your own disaster. You call ServPro Providence 401-941-5500. Fast, thorough, professional restoration, reliability, and results 24/7. They can tackle a fire, water, storm, mold damage head on. Call them 401-941-5500 for ServPro of Providence. So I want to repeat. So tonight, apparently, Providence City Hall, they're having some, it's a city council meeting, and they're going to be talking about trying to get ice out. If you've watched some of the footage of what's going on in Chicago over the weekend. How about Chicago? How many 55 people were shot over the weekend? Like what? How did that ever become the norm? But it was some number like that. That's just, that's normal in their mind. And that governor of Illinois, I can't stand these people. I just can't. I try to be kind, folks, but they're the worst. We have to. A new thing that's starting also, by the way, is you get these people saying, if you don't like it, why don't you move? Well, we're not moving. The Northeast needs to be turned around. New Jersey, that would be phenomenal. That would be fantastic if New Jersey, they have a governor's race that is neck and neck right now in New Jersey. That'd be huge if New Jersey flipped. And I remember years ago, New York had Republican governor. Obviously, one time Connecticut did. Charlie Baker was the governor for 8 years. But what I think people have to realize is that just this path that the state is on, there's no policy. It's not a winning formula. They just allow the special interest to dictate policy. And as I have stated, I would really be curious to see if the Republicans could mount a challenger for governor that would talk about, and I'm pretty clear, I believe that the state of Rhode Island could be more successful if the state emulated a state like New Hampshire with their policies, as opposed to Rhode Island is basically a tribute band to Massachusetts and Connecticut. And that's why Hasbro's weighing, do I stay in Pawtucket? Do I go to Boston? Stay in Pawtucket, go to Boston? They go to Boston. The Paw Sox, should we stay in Pawtucket or go to Worcester? Stay in Pawtucket or go to Worcester? They leave. So the state, Rhode Island could make a big statement if nestled between Connecticut and Massachusetts, Rhode Island was more akin to the state of New Hampshire. And Rhode Island has advantages that New Hampshire doesn't have. By the way, New Hampshire is a well-run state. They have they have tremendous winter tourism with the skiing in the mountains, but New Hampshire also has big summer tourism as well. And New Hampshire's a growing state. And New Hampshire, obviously, no taxes. A lot of people from Massachusetts move to New Hampshire. Obviously, Republican governors, Chris Sununu, hopefully our friend Scott Brown. Scott Brown is going to get into the Senate. We want to help him if we can, but something's got to give. What's going on right now, quite frankly, it's embarrassing. It is. The bridge is embarrassing. I was telling a family member last night on the phone. He was, my brother Tom was saying, when is that bridge going to be done? I said, they're saying the Washington Bridge might be done in 2029. I mean, think how ridiculous that is. And it doesn't just affect 195 East. It's right now, as we speak, at 155, already the traffic is backed up to the Cranston line. In the next hour and a half, it'll be backed up at Jefferson Boulevard. It is totally ridiculous that we have to put up with this. You know, oh, we're going to have oversight hearings. When? Last time it was nothing. And if they're not under oath, what is the point here? We need someone competent. We need someone that's not fighting with the administration. You deserve someone in Washington that will work with the administration. It is not helping Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Of the 3 states, not one Republican in Washington. It's not helping. But Connecticut is different because part of Connecticut is a bedroom community to New York, and Mass is always different because they have Boston and, you know, Cape Cod and the Vineyard and Nantucket. But Rhode Island, the Governor McKee, we've already established, he's at 19% approval rating running for re-election. Folks, this portion of the program, you know, during this weather, this is the time to maybe get your driveway paved. J. Perry Paving. Call them, free estimate, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. Letter J, it's J. Perry Paving. Licensed and insured. If you're a veteran, let them pave your driveway. Make a huge difference. J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service. They have a great package for veterans. Call them right now. Free estimate, 401-732-1730. If you're listening or watching saying, well, wait a minute, I'm a veteran. Well, great. Number 1, thank you for your service. Number 2, call J. Perry Paving. They would love to pave your driveway. Or maybe your dad is a veteran. Or maybe your son is a veteran. Or maybe grandpa, grandma. J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. Letter J. J. Perry Paving. I also want to just mention, folks, you know, I'm fortunate. I get to deal with a lot of wonderful companies. I highly encourage you to contact Mosquito Joe Rhode Island. They are a phenomenal company to deal with. And they treat your property. Do you know this entire spring, summer, and now into the fall, we can sit outside, no mosquito bites. It's the greatest. You don't have to. Mosquito Joe Rhode Island. What a great company. They contact you before they come, they treat your property. Fantastic. 401-426-2032. I am so impressed by them. Mosquito Joe Rhode Island. Also, Lucy asked me, who's that plumber that I recommend? Lucy, contact J&B Plumbing. They can repair damaged water pipes, replace clogged pipelines, replace water heaters. They can do it all. J&B Plumbing, 401-743-9153. 401-743-9153. They're coming to my house this week. I think I have a clogged pipeline. I'm not sure. But Jimmy will take care of it. J&B Plumbing. Well, folks, 1:59 on this Monday. Again, repeating, big story in Warwick. That was a standoff with police. They did take someone into custody, and he did have a firearm. So great job, Warwick Police handled that. We have the video up on that. Tonight in Providence, that's at the Providence City Council. They're having a meeting saying that the city should not be cooperating with ICE. It's ridiculous. I believe we're going to be out later on Road Patrol Live. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. In the meantime, what a great win by the Patriots. Enjoy this beautiful Monday.